everyone, and welcome to Microsoft Ignite's Into Focus Digital and Application Innovation session. I'm Ashmi Chokshi, General Manager for Azure Application Development. I'm coming to you from Microsoft's Learn TV studio. Today, I want to talk to you all about innovation and the part you play in making a difference in the world, in driving successful business outcomes, and in helping your customers in new ways. A lot of innovation today and going forward will be digital and will take the form of new software and applications that you all build. One of my favorite recent examples of innovation is how the International Space Station team succeeded in uncovering new insights from genomic data with a pretty cool edge computing solution that bursts data, well, from space to Earth. Let's check it out.
Spaceborne Computer 2 is the latest available edge computing resources on the International Space Station. The latency from space on the International Space Station is significant. It takes a very long time to get the data from the International Space Station back to Earth.
The space station has limited bandwidth, so that means if you're running experiments that uses a lot of data, you can't send all your data down to Earth. You need to do some processing using the power of HPE's Spaceborne Computer 2. Take a look at your data and distill it down to what's interesting. Then you can send down interesting events to Earth where you can then leverage the power of Azure and the public cloud to process at scale.
One of the great things about Spaceborne Computer 2 being developed with an open source software is that here on Earth, it's really cool that for me as a developer, I can use those same tools. It really increases the developer velocity to creating something useful. So I can know with confidence that, say I go to the repository for this project, I can clone it from GitHub, I can open it in a browser with GitHub code spaces, or I can open the solution with Visual Studio Code, build it with Docker, and I have the exact same tools that I know are going to be present in the Spaceborne Computer 2. So I can validate, dev, and test locally, deploy to Azure, and deploy to space confidently.
Building on open source components of Linux and Docker containers means that there's a much wider group of developers that can develop applications that are meaningful in space.
Open source technologies allow us to create unique and interesting things, and then Spaceborne Computer 2 gives us the horsepower to do them.
If we're preparing to put humans on the moon or on Mars, we want to know how we can build these patterns of processing at the edge and bursting down to the cloud now while we have the space station before we go to much further and more difficult places.
Our hope is that we can build truly game-changing things in the future for both astronauts on board, our partners, and the people here back on Earth.
How cool is that? Developers and technical teams made that possible. Coming back to Earth, developers drive innovation everywhere. One example is HSBC and its Payme App. As one of the world's largest international banks, HSBC has combined the convenience afforded by smartphones with cloud services to enable cashless transactions. Most of us are used to having this convenience via a smartphone. With Azure, the Payme team has been delivering a great customer experience, with 98% of all transactions completed in 500 milliseconds or less and being highly secure. Another great example is gaming. Video games are among the most demanding, elastic scale, and high-performance applications in the world. Whether we're talking about Minecraft running over 100 million monthly active users on Azure, Microsoft's Flight Simulator creating a digital twin of the Earth, or games like Fall Guys, PUBG Mobile, and Rainbow Six Siege, Azure's global infrastructure has helped the creators of these games bring ideas to market faster, creating not only a great source of entertainment, but also a community and global connection for gamers. Developers and technical teams are continuing to drive massive impact in the world, and your opportunity for impact continues to increase. Today, over half of you are looked to by your teams and executives to decide how your organization can achieve its mission through technology. At Microsoft, we believe you all are the next generation of digital creators. So let's make this real. What are some concrete ways you can drive impact today and going forward? There are 4 areas to explore. Find ways to future-proof existing apps and build new innovation with new and relevant technology. Think about how to bring unlimited data, analytics, AI and ML easily into technologies you build. Find ways to code and collaborate in a remote world with global and local teams in a productive way. Partner with IT for applications that can run anywhere in a hybrid and multi-cloud world. Our goal at Microsoft is to help you drive this impact. I was a software engineer and product manager for many years, and so are many at Microsoft. As a company built by developers for developers, our ambition is to be the platform for platform creators and to help you all address the real-world needs of your customers. All of you and your teams, your IT partners, need best-in-class tools and services that help you reduce the time it takes to go from idea to value. We believe you have the choice to build any app on any language using any framework, targeting any cloud. You can build applications securely and run them anywhere. We want you to be able to add value to your applications with data, analytics, insights quickly and easily. Whether your goal is to modernize existing apps, build new intelligent cloud-native apps, or adopt DevSecOps practices, Microsoft supports you with the entire gamut of tools to increase velocity and enable you all to build on your terms. With Microsoft, you have the choice between productivity and control. On one hand, we provide platform as a service and low-code technologies as you consider how to refactor complex applications without managing infrastructure. And on the other end of the spectrum, we offer cloud-native Azure Kubernetes service and managed databases for developers and IT teams who want higher control of their app architecture and deployment. Whether you choose to fully move to Azure or have a hybrid environment, with Azure Arc, you have a single control plane for all your applications, facilitating partnership with your IT team. And with GitHub and Visual Studio, including VS Code, you have the choice to use your favorite languages, open source frameworks, and tools that you are familiar with to get from code to cloud from anywhere, collaborating in a secure way. With that, let's dive in. I'll now invite some of my colleagues and our customers to talk about 3 areas: how you can build innovations with cloud-native technologies in a resilient way, reimagine your existing applications, and use the best developer tools to go from code to cloud. Who better to start this off than Donovan Brown?
Hi, Ashmi. Thanks for having me.
So Donovan, many of us say cloud native, but what does that really mean?
That is a wonderful question. Let's start with an example of a customer and partner building a cloud-native application. The UK National Health Service, or NHS, is on the front lines of the healthcare industry. Using a cloud-native architecture, the NHS teamed up with Keynote to create a digital front door that provides access to healthcare services to 40 million people in England from a smartphone. Azure enabled them to deliver an enterprise-grade solution with the speed, scalability, and security required by a modern healthcare system. A few months later, in face of the COVID pandemic, the NHS had a new challenge. They needed to allow UK citizens to get permission to self-isolate without visiting a doctor. Using Azure and a cloud-native architecture, the NHS was able to take this service from idea to production in just 2 weeks. Cloud-native architectures focus on designing the benefits and power of the cloud into your solutions. Applications are broken down into units of functionality, each exposed as a service and often packaged in containers. This enables you to reduce costs by only using the resources you need and scaling out when additional resources are required. By leveraging serverless platforms and DevOps best practices, cloud-native architectures allow developers to focus on adding business value and not on managing infrastructure. When applications are built as microservices, each service can be deployed independently, allowing each to innovate and deliver results more quickly. Cloud-native architectures also open new infrastructure possibilities. Microservices can be delivered as containers, which package application code and dependencies together to increase portability, or as functions, which offer an event-driven compute-on-demand solution. Cloud-native architectures are how developers will achieve the elastic scale, reliability, and security required by the next generation of applications. When many of us think about microservices, we also think of Kubernetes. Kubernetes has proven to be a core enabler for cloud-native applications. As a platinum member and top contributor to the Cloud Native Computing Foundation, Microsoft Azure continues to invest in Kubernetes innovation. Azure Kubernetes Service, or better known as AKS, provides the flexibility to support the architecture that meets your business needs. With AKS, you can have a fully managed cluster in just minutes with integrations across Azure, the Microsoft Cloud, and our developer tools. You can write your application in Visual Studio Code and have it running in the cloud in no time thanks to the Deployment Center and GitHub Actions. AKS takes the complexity out of Kubernetes with pre-configured enterprise security and policy templates, Security Center monitoring your cluster and alerting you of possible attacks, and advisory recommendations enabling you to get the most out of Kubernetes. Imagine a world where you could harness the power of Kubernetes without knowing you were using Kubernetes. Well, today, we're announcing our newest cloud-native offering that does just that, Azure Container Apps. Azure Container Apps is purpose-built for microservices and allows you to run containerized applications without worrying about orchestration or infrastructure. Azure Container Apps enables executing application code packaged in any container and is unopinionated about the runtime or programming model. This enables teams to build microservices without the steep learning curve of targeting Kubernetes directly, allowing you to easily deploy your containers while giving you the flexibility to upgrade to full Kubernetes. DevOps, which is the union of people, process, and products to enable continuous delivery of value to our end users, is critical to getting your cloud-native applications into production. The California Department of Technology is a great example of incorporating security into your workflow. Leveraging the power of Azure and GitHub, they can update and deploy applications in minutes. Now, I'm going to switch to a demo and show you this in action. The California Department of Technology employs DevOps best practices like infrastructure as code to enable the rapid deployment of their critical applications. Combining the power of Azure and GitHub provides a secure and frictionless pipeline from code to cloud. Security is of the utmost importance to the department as they handle sensitive information and essential services for all of California. Open source has greatly reduced the time to market, but it can be time-consuming to keep up with all the dependencies and make sure they stay up to date to avoid any security issues. GitHub can shift left and integrate security earlier in the development process to detect vulnerabilities before they become a problem. When I visit the repository, GitHub immediately alerts me to a potential security vulnerability thanks to Dependabot. Dependabot identifies any outdated or insecure dependencies and opens pull requests to update them. The Security tab is a centralized view of all the alerts. GitHub Advanced Security provides built-in capabilities including dependency alerts, code scanning, and secret scanning. For example, under the secret scanning alerts, sensitive data has been detected in the source code. The alert provides the file name and line number, making this issue easy to resolve. Without leaving the browser, I can use code spaces and in under 30 seconds have a secure development environment where I can quickly fix this issue. Code Spaces turns any device into a secure development machine. Thanks to GitHub Actions, teams can implement continuous integration, or CI. CI is the practice upon every commit the code is downloaded, compiled, tested, and packaged for deployment. GitHub Actions allow teams to codify the entire workflow using YAML and target macOS, Windows, and Linux. The California Department of Technology has leveraged GitHub Actions to automate the entire process. GitHub Actions is extensible with an entire marketplace with thousands of actions available to build your workflows. Or you can always create your own custom actions or run a custom script. No matter how complex your solution, combining Azure and GitHub allows teams to increase velocity while maintaining a secure solution that adheres to organizational governance. As we just saw from that last demo, DevOps allows teams to move really quickly. But what we don't want to do is sacrifice quality. We want to test early and we want to test often. And thanks to Chaos Studio, we can now test in really interesting ways. What I'd like to do is invite my buddy Rick to talk to us about chaos engineering. How's it going, Rick?
Hey, man, I still can't believe that you bring my name up and chaos at the same time. I just don't know why. But so for me, chaos engineering in the past was always something that was very manual, very structured. You had to script things, you had to simulate stuff, and it was a very kind of tedious process, and it wasn't really realistic. So think of those tests that you used to do for making sure your code works. The equivalent on the operation side of things is kind of where chaos engineering is. But with Chaos Studio, it is so much more now. I mean, now we can go through and take out entire sections, get rid of your identity path, lose a data center. We can simulate all that now with Chaos Studio.
That's terrifying. Like those things that you just said makes my heart beat a little faster, because as a developer, I'm very optimistic. I assume that there's infinite memory, infinite RAM, and that hard drives never fail. But I know that that's not true. And what we've been doing is trying to design our applications to respond to those things, but we never know if it's actually going to work until you're actually in production fighting a fire. And what I love about Chaos Studio is it shifts left that conversation. We can start having that conversation a lot sooner, and I can start designing into the product the quality versus trying to bolt it on after. So having that conversation earlier, shifting left as a developer feels really good. But as an IT pro, you tend to shift to the right.
Right. So, I mean, picture this. Repeatable tests, repeatable functions are things that you like. But now we can inject randomization of different parts of your organization, different parts of your application failing with Chaos Studio. It's completely Azure aware. And on the right side of things, we tend to worry about stuff as it goes into production or after it's already in production. So now picture being able to do a high availability test or a real disaster recovery drill to find out how fast you can get stuff back up again. You can do that because Chaos Studio is aware of all the different Azure pieces, has a library of different types of tests you can run, and you can run them with all the knowledge of your entire application and the entire architecture inside of Azure. It's awesome.
Yeah. I love the fact that it's so integrated with Azure, because as our infrastructure changes, as our applications change, we know we're going to have the tools necessary to go in and inject those faults to confirm the assumptions made by the developers that our code is actually going to be able to continue to run in production. So it's amazing to have this type of functionality now at our fingertips. And like you said, high availability is something that we're all worried about, but have we actually tested that it's actually going to work? And now we can test it long before we get into production. So Rick, I just want to thank you so much for coming and hanging out and talking to us about chaos engineering.
Amen. No problem. Cheers.
And what we talked about in this section was cloud development, and we want to make sure that you're cloud native. We also want to use DevOps best practices. And now we have Chaos Studio to help us with chaos engineering as well.
Thank you, Donovan. That was really great to understand how to build cloud-native apps that are resilient. I'm also really excited about our container apps innovation. I hope folks check out our public preview. Next, I want to talk about the large set of applications with data that many of you want to future-proof. Sometimes you want to build applications without needing the full control and flexibility of Kubernetes or VMs. Platform as a service and low-code technologies are a great fit for this. One customer we work closely with is Swiss Re, a provider of insurance solutions. Swiss Re wanted to focus on building services for their business. Managing infrastructure, security testing, and performance monitoring for Java Spring apps was taking time away from delivering new features and services. With Spring Cloud, they can focus on delivering new capabilities and deploy consistently. With Azure's application services, you get full compatibility for your existing applications. These platform services let you, as a developer, focus on your application code and logic, and let Azure take care of tasks like infrastructure provisioning, OS and runtime patching, scaling, load balancing, and much more. You can still meet your enterprise needs, such as hybrid deployments, identity management, security, and compliance. Next, I want to double-click into 3 of these patterns with .NET apps, Java apps, and custom business apps. With Azure App Service and Azure SQL, a fully managed platform for all .NET web apps, we can help modernize your .NET applications and data without time-consuming and expensive rework or code changes. We've been the stewards of .NET, SQL, and Visual Studio for over 2 decades. So we have tailored App Service and Azure SQL for unmatched productivity with Visual Studio integration. With advanced monitoring, diagnostics, and debugging, no other cloud has more features and support for .NET apps. App Service hosts millions of apps and is the only fully managed app platform with native support for Windows. In fact, with the recent GA of Windows container support, you can now run a wide array of existing .NET applications on App Service. Java is an important area of investment for us. Earlier in the year, we announced our build of OpenJDK that is free to deploy anywhere and supported for Azure customers. We already offer a fully managed service for Spring Boot apps with Azure Spring Cloud. Now you can get even more functionality and productivity with Azure Spring Cloud Enterprise. And developers can get started faster with Java Enterprise Edition on Kubernetes with automated solution templates for Oracle WebLogic and IBM WebSphere. Another great modernization technology is low-code. How many of you have a growing backlog of applications to build, including those internal line of business applications that your business teams want? We see professional developers combine code-first tools with low-code development tools like PowerApps. With Microsoft, you have a seamless integration between PowerApps, Azure, and even Visual Studio. For example, in just a few clicks, you can build an API on Azure Functions in Visual Studio, publish it to Azure API Management, and export that as a connector to be used in PowerApps. You can also manage the full life cycle of your low-code application with CI/CD through GitHub Actions. We see low-code used in many situations, most prominently to accelerate web and mobile frontends for line-of-business applications, extend existing systems like SAP or Dynamics, and to automate manual and paper-based business processes. By the way, this Ignite, we announced the preview of PowerApps pay-as-you-go pricing, so you can use your Azure subscription to pay for PowerApps usage. Definitely check out this great technology that can save you a lot of time. Now, let's learn how H&R Block is moving their applications forward.
Welcome to Customer Tech Talks. Joining me is Adam Yeager, Principal Architect from H&R Block. Adam, thanks for joining us.
I'm excited to be here. Thanks for having me.
Now, most people may not know this, but H&R Block has been around for more than 60 years, so no doubt modernizing your applications was no small task. Can you share with everyone how you approach taking these applications to Azure, and most importantly, the impact this has had on the business?
Yeah, absolutely. So we kind of took a step back and just asked ourselves, what do we want to be when we grow up? What does the cloud provide? What benefits does it have? Who are the players? And then once we sort of packaged all that strategy up, before we moved to single application, we built kind of mundane things like the virtual data centers, we called it the VDC, and that encompassed subscriptions, resource groups, peering, express routes, naming conventions, permissioning structures, and all those other things. And then we moved a couple small applications to get our feet wet. And then we decided we would only learn big things if we did big things. So we decided within the next year we were going to remove one of our data centers, and it had one of our several of our most important client-facing applications. And that was a key. It wasn't the easiest way to do it. Success wasn't guaranteed, but we did it, and we learned a lot in that year. It would have taken us much longer had we taken a different approach.
That's great. I love that term that if you're going to learn big things, you have to do big things. And I love the fact that you took that approach. Now, no doubt during this time of learning big things, there were also some challenges when you were making this move. Looking back, can you share what some of those challenges were? And most importantly, how did you address these?
Yeah, so we started our journey about 4 years ago, and one of the things we found rather quickly was that, as it pertains to our journey in Azure, that there wasn't a lot of people that had done big at scale, 100,000 plus concurrent user-like workloads. Even within the Azure consultants or some folks we hired, there wasn't a lot of been there done that. So we felt like we were doing it for the first time, and so we also had some cultural issues related to, doing things differently and moving forward. And so how we managed that was we said we were going to carve off some people and we were going to sit in a room for a few months. It's that virtual data center that I talked to you about. And we weren't going to take any considerations into our legacy baggage and how we used to do things. It's what did we want? How were we going to do it? And how would we do it the best we possibly could? We knew we'd fail. We knew we'd learn. But that was key. That really got us to where we wanted to be. And I'm really lucky that I still get to spend time with those guys all the time.
That's really great. And, one of the things that I love is that you kind of went, both feet into that and really kind of, paved your way ahead. But as you look back and, potentially there are organizations out there today who are looking at H&R Block as the organization that's been there and done that, what are some of the lessons you would share with an organization in a similar situation about modernizing their own legacy applications?
I think there's three things, and probably more, but there's big three things that I can think about. And one is infrastructure as code. We decided from the beginning, even when it slowed us down in the beginning, that using infrastructure as code versus the portal to make changes was key. We're certainly better at it today than we were in the beginning, but knowing that that's where we had to start was important, very important. The second one was we knew that well-managed clouds didn't have one of everything. They didn't have one of every database possible, and one of every compute platform as possible, and one of every messaging platform as possible. So we were very intentional. This type of workload uses this type of service, and we created, decision trees around how you would use those, and what we also did was say, this is how you deploy the service and use the service and secure the service and support the service, and automate the service. And so what we now have is a self-service platform that app teams can use to deploy services, and we know that they'll always be done the right way and the cost optimized way, really, to be honest with you. And then lastly, indexing heavily on PaaS services versus VMs and infrastructure services. That's key. We did find that sometimes they didn't meet our needs. And so we pushed with the product team and our account team and the Azure ecosystem and said, we need this feature and this capability. It needs to be more secure. It needs to be faster or whatever. And then when it got to that point, we started using it. And so we're heavily indexed on that today. And that's been another key takeaway.
Some really great lessons there, especially around things like using infrastructure as code. Even though it may slow you down, it pays off dividends in the end. Putting in governance model early to make sure people are using the services the right way, and then really taking advantage of those platform as a service offerings as well. Adam, thank you so much for taking the time with us today. It's been great to hear about your journey.
I've enjoyed it. Thank you.
And of course, if you want to learn more about modernizing your own applications, you can head to Microsoft Learn to get started.
That was a great conversation about the why and some of the how of modernizing applications. I want to change focus to some of the amazing tools that you might already use every day, and also some of the new innovations related to development, testing, and continuous integration and delivery. I am here with Amanda Silver, Corporate Vice President of the Developer Division. Hey, Amanda.
Hey, Ashmi. I'm so excited to be here at Ignite with you today.
So I know you have some really great innovative features for us today, but I have an overarching question for you. How do you think about developer productivity?
Well, that's a really, really great question, and it's at the heart of our vision. The important thing to recognize is that the number of lines of code churned out or the number of bugs fixed are really not helpful metrics that distill productivity. Developer velocity is about the time to value, empowering developers to write the code that only they can write, and focus on the differentiated pieces of their apps. Developers rely on focus, clarity, autonomy, and mission to maintain engagement. That means that organizations have to care about employee satisfaction, individual contributions, and facilitating collaboration and learning amongst their teams. Our vision to empower every developer with a cutting-edge engineering system is becoming a reality. With our Developer Cloud, you can set up a complete engineering system in seconds, contribute from any device, collaborate with anyone, and scale without limit. For example, the GitHub engineering team has an awesome story. Now, this is the story of the team behind GitHub.com. Setting up a dev environment is a fairly common task for developers. Every time they want to investigate a new technology, fix a bug in an old code base, or help a colleague, for example, having new teams join them on the team. On the GitHub team, they reduce the time it takes for a new hire to contribute from an hour down to a few seconds. Engineers can spin up new code spaces for parallel work streams with no overhead. This solved some very real problems. It eliminated the fragility and single-track model of local development environments, and it created consistency across the team. With code spaces, developers can treat their dev environments much like they do infrastructure, as a commodity that can be provisioned on demand, but still maintain the ability to optimize their workbench. As developers, we want to use tools, languages, frameworks, and services that enable us to do our best work and be more productive. We're constantly being asked to do more with less, meeting customer expectations while ensuring that our apps are well-designed, have great performance, and are reliable. Being able to hone our development loop from start to finish is an essential part of achieving developer velocity with confidence. We are building tools that help you with development, testing, and continuous integration and delivery, no matter what language or framework you're using. Now let me show you how GitHub Codespaces, Visual Studio Code, Playwright Automated Testing, and GitHub Actions can work together to enable you to focus on creating your next great app. My team is distributed around the globe, and we wanted a better way to connect with each other for our daily stand-ups. Sunrise Stand-Up is a React application that allows us to upload super quick morning stand-up videos no matter when and where your morning starts. I've been putting the finishing touches on a new map feature that I've been adding to everyone's check-in location. I've recently been on the go a lot, and I don't always have my full dev machine with me at all times. With GitHub Codespaces, I'm able to work on the app by spinning up a virtual development environment in seconds. And here we are. I don't have to worry about installing anything else on my local machine. Now, with my environment set up, I want to add an automated test for the app to make sure that my new map feature is working. Playwright enables end-to-end front-end testing across all modern browsers, and I can easily add these tests in a few steps. Now, here's the app inside of VS Code. To get started with Playwright, I'm going to hit init Playwright with a simple npm command. It gets me through the setup, asking me what type of language do I want to use. I'll pick TypeScript. I'll name the tests end-to-end, and I'll even add a GitHub action for continuous integration of the tests. Now here's the end-to-end folder that Playwright creates. This gives me a basic test, and then I'll use CodeGen and the Playwright inspector to create a Playwright test. All I need to do is to use my web app, and the inspector will automatically generate the test script for me. Now let me bring it into my project. Let's rename it to map, test, and then save and run the tests. Now this is really cool. It's running my new test against a modern desktop and mobile web browsers at the same time. With the test in place, I can commit this to GitHub, and the GitHub action will automatically build my tests and then run them with every commit. If anything goes wrong, it'll even publish artifacts like traces and videos to help me debug the problem. Getting set up with Playwright took seconds. And with the Playwright inspector, I could easily start generating tests and see them running in continuous integration with GitHub Actions. But sometimes things go wrong and we accidentally break tests. Now Playwright can help us there too. Now here, my colleague Marcus made a change, but we see that the build is failing. It looks like he's trying to update the footer on mobile. Let's take a look at the failure. Looking at the GitHub action, sure enough, he broke the app on mobile devices, both on mobile Chrome and mobile Safari. If I scroll up, we can see that the test I just wrote, it couldn't click the map button. Now Playwright enables me to play back the trace events from the failure with a simple command. Let's head back to VS Code. Now I've downloaded the zip, and I just need to execute the command that it gave me. Now I can step through the steps in the test. I can see that it was waiting for the map element, but it looks like it couldn't find it. Let's now go back over the pull request and give some feedback to Marcus. What's great about Playwright is that it works with your preferred languages and frameworks. I showed you a React.js app, but Playwright also supports TypeScript, Python, Java, and .NET applications. Now let's take a look at a Blazor application inside of Visual Studio 2022. Now here, I have a weather app completely written in C# with .NET Blazor. I've written a few Playwright tests leveraging the .NET SDK, and my tests show up directly inside of the Visual Studio Test Explorer. I can run specific tests or all my tests with just a single click, as I would expect as a C# developer inside of Visual Studio 2022. And there you have it. That's how Playwright, Visual Studio Code, and GitHub Actions can help you create better, testable software using the tools that you love.
That's amazing, Amanda. I had no idea that Playwright and GitHub Actions work so well together. Thank you.
Of course.
As you look to the next steps in your journey, I wanted to call out some of the programs and resources that Microsoft offers to our customers. The Azure Migration and Modernization Program helps you move with confidence by skilling up your organization, as well as direct assistance from Azure engineers and specialized partners. With AMP, you can leverage prescriptive step-by-step guidance from assessments to planning to execution. AMP provides offers and incentives based on your need, be it subsidized services from partners or Azure credits to help offset transition costs as you migrate and modernize. Thousands of customers have accelerated their cloud journey with Azure Migration and Modernization Program, AMP. Based on your feedback, we are excited to announce that AMP will be adding additional support for application modernization scenarios such as Red Hat OpenShift and building out cloud-native applications. There is so much goodness happening over the next few weeks. We have our Visual Studio launch celebration and the community-run .NET Conf. We invite you to join us. To continue your learning, we have created a curated MS Learn collection page directly linked in this session to take you to all the links, learning paths, and resources. It is an exciting time for this community with tremendous opportunity ahead. Our ambition is to be the platform for platform creators and enable you to meet the real-world needs of your customers. Thank you so much for joining us today.